In the quiet corners of the world, where noise retreats and time flows more like a river than a clock, there exists an ancient art that blends discipline, silence, and mindfulness. It is not a loud art, nor a popular one. It does not shout or demand tension. It is the art of Japanese sword polishing, a tradition carried gently through centuries by hands trained to see the soul in steel. Tonight we will journey through that world, slowly, calmly, with no rush to arrive anywhere. Let your body settle. Let your thoughts become still. Let each word drift past like leaves on a quiet stream. You are here to listen, not to remember, to rest, not to learn. If sleep arrives early, let it take you. This story will still be here, flowing softly without you. Let us begin. The Japanese sword, the Nihonto, has long held a sacred place in the cultural landscape of Japan. It is more than a weapon. It is an artifact, a symbol, a vessel of spirit, forged with care, folded with precision, and polished with reverence. Each blade carries not just a function, but a story. When most think of swords, they imagine sharpness, battle, action. But in the tradition of the Togishi, the sword polisher, none of that is relevant. The Togishi does not concern himself with warfare. He does not swing the blade. He listens to. He reveals it. He gently awakens the beauty hidden within the steel. The process is long. The rewards, subtle. But for the polisher, each moment is a chance to enter a space of quiet purpose. A space where one breathes slowly, moves deliberately, and thinks not of tomorrow but only of now. The art of sword polishing is a kind of walking meditation performed not on a mountain trail or garden path but along the curved spine of steel. The tools are simple yet sacred. The most essential are the whetstones, natural Japanese stones, each with its own personality, its own texture, its own voice. The coarsest stones shape the blade. The finest ones whisper to it. A master polisher will know his stones the way a musician knows their instrument. Each stroke must sing. Each line must follow the truth of the blade. But before we examine the polishing itself, let us step back in time. Let us travel together to the early centuries of sword making in Japan. It is the Heian period around the 8th to 12th century, a time of imperial courts, poetry, and a growing samurai class. The sword is becoming more than a tool. It is an identity. As swordsmiths refine their craft, a need arises. Someone must complete the blade. Someone must refine its surface not merely for function, but for form. Thus begins the story of the Togishi. By the Kamakura period, sword polishing has already become a defined discipline. The Togishi is no longer merely an assistant to the smith. He is his own artist, and, like all artists, he works alone, quietly, with a devotion that borders on spiritual. Imagine one such polisher sitting in a tatami-matted room, the paper screens closed to soften the daylight. Before him lies a blade, freshly forged, untouched by human eyes. It is beautiful in its rawness, but it is cloudy. The features of its spirit are hidden. And so, the polisher breathes in, lifts his stone, and begins. The first phase is shitaji togi, the foundation polish. In this stage, the goal is to shape the blade, refine its geometry, remove irregularities. The polisher uses coarse stones like arado and binsui. The motion is rhythmic, back and forth with even pressure. Not fast, not hurried. Every stroke must follow the line of the sword's curve. A mistake here cannot be undone. A slip might ruin weeks of forging, but the polisher does not fear. He has done this before, hundreds of times, thousands of times, and yet each blade feels like a new conversation. As the hours pass, the blade begins to change. Its edges become crisp, surface smoother. The light catches differently. It is as if the sword is beginning to wake from a long sleep. Once the basic shape is perfected, the polisher begins the next phase, shiage, togi, or finish polishing. This stage is delicate. It uses ultrafine stones, kominagara, achigamori, and others with poetic names. Each one is rubbed gently on the blade with a dab of water. The sound is barely audible, a whisper of stone meeting steel, like rain on rice paper. The goal here is not to sharpen, but to reveal, to make visible the hamon, the wave-like temper line that runs along the edge of the sword. Formed during the quenching process, the hamon is unique to each blade, like a fingerprint. Some are straight, others wavy. Some are jagged like lightning, others roll gently like ocean swells. The polisher does not invent the hamon. He does not decorate the blade. He simply helps it show its face to the world. There is also the hada, the grain of the steel, caused by the folding process. During forging, the hada resembles wood grain or flowing water. It may be subtle or bold. The polisher gently coaxes it forward with fine abrasive powders like hazuya and jizuya, applied with finger-sized paper pads. Each inch of the blade is treated with care. From the tip, the kasaki, to the nakago, the tang hidden inside the handle. Every surface is part of the story. Nothing is rushed. Let's linger now on the polisher's posture. He kneels in seiza or cross-legged, depending on comfort. His breathing is slow. His hands move as if guided by memory more than thought. Some say the polisher enters a trance. Others call it flow. But whatever the word, the feeling is the same. A merging of self with action. There is no longer a man polishing a sword. There is only polishing. The light in the room shifts slightly as the sun arcs overhead. Still, he works. Perhaps he takes a short break, a sip of tea, a moment to stretch. But he returns. The blade waits. It has waited for centuries. Can wait a little longer. Now and then, the polisher tilts the sword toward the window. He examines the reflection, not just to see but to feel. Is the polish even? Does the light catch where it should? Are there tiny scratches still to remove? He may switch to an even finer stone. He may start over on a section already done. Perfection is not demanded, but sincerity is. A true polish is not measured by brilliance, but by balance. Let us pause, not in the story, but in speed. Let us drift deeper into the rhythm. Stroke by stroke, line by line, inch by inch. This is how swords are brought to life. This is how spirits are honored. The Togishi is not a warrior. He does not need armor or swordsmanship. His weapon is patience. His battlefield is a strip of steel no wider than 2 inches. His victory, a blade that reflects not just light, but time. The years pass. Empires rise and fall. Shoguns replace emperors. Castles burn. Peace comes and goes. But the polisher remains. In quiet homes, in back alley shops, in temple outbuildings, he continues his work. In the Edo period, the samurai flourish. Every nobleman owns a sword. Every sword must be polished. Polishing schools are born. Lineages are formed. Techniques are passed in whispers. Apprentices kneel for years before being allowed to polish a full blade. Reputation grows, slowly, like moss on stone. Then the Meiji Restoration arrives. The samurai class is dissolved. Swords are banned from public wear. Factories replace forges. Western styles flood the islands. The sword becomes obsolete, but not dead. Collectors emerge. Scholars, lovers of old ways. They preserve the swords, and they need polishers. Slowly, the art returns. Quietly, it endures. Even in the modern age, with electric lights and digital clocks, the Togishi continues. He wears no robes. His workshop might be in a modern building, but inside, nothing has changed. The stones are still natural, the water still pure, the hands still slow, the sword is still sacred. Let us return now to the quiet room. The sun is lower than before. Perhaps it is afternoon. The light is golden, slanting through a paper screen. The polisher sits, just as he did hours ago. Still, focused, gentle. The sword lies across the polishing stone, its surface glistening faintly from the last application of water. The motion of the blade against stone continues. Slow, metronomic movement. The whisper of steel against the microscopic grit of the stone sounds like distant wind brushing across dry leaves. That he is polishing the kisaki now. The tip of the sword. It is the most delicate part, and the most difficult. The geometry is complex. Any misalignment, any excess, pressure, and the harmony of the curve will be broken. The Togishi knows this, but he is not afraid. His fingers move with a practiced grace. His breath aligns with each stroke. The room is filled with a quiet reverence. There is something sacred in this act, a kind of communion between man and metal. The polisher is not simply cleaning a blade. He is awakening it. He is helping it remember what it is. Let us speak now of the sword's spiritual role. In Shinto belief, the Japanese sword is more than a weapon. It is a container of kami, the spirits. The sword represents purity, honor, and clarity. It is used in ritual. It is placed in shrines. It is handed down not just as inheritance, but as soul. In the imperial regalia of Japan, one of the 3 sacred treasures is a sword, the Kusanagi no Tsurugi, a legendary blade. Along with the mirror and the jewel, the sword completes the triad of spiritual symbols. For centuries, the sword has been present at birth ceremonies, coming of age, rituals, and funerals. When a samurai died in battle, his sword was recovered not just as a belonging but as a piece of him. When a sword is polished, it is not merely maintained, it is revered. And so, the polisher becomes more than a craftsman. He is a guardian of memory, a keeper of soul. He does not see the sword as his. He is simply a caretaker, entrusted for a time. Each blade tells a story. Some were carried by generals. Others passed from father to son. Some never saw war yet witnessed lifetimes of peace. Their names are recorded, their makers etched into the tang. Names like Masamune, Muramasa, Kanemitsu. Masters of steel, whose legacy echoes in each layer of folded iron. When the polisher holds one of these blades, he feels the weight of time. Not in grams, but in moments that end meaning. In the quiet pressure to honor what came before. The Togishi finishes his work on the kisaki. He examines it under natural light, then candlelight. He sees the soft glow of the bashi, the pattern of the temper. Line at the blade's tip, curves like mist over water. It is subtle, precise. He moves next to the shinogiji, the upper surface of the blade. He uses the Megakibo, a burnishing needle, to polish it without abrasives, using friction alone. The result is a mirror finish, deep and dark. Light dances on its surface like moonlight on still water. He smiles, but only slightly. Satisfaction is not shown loudly. He continues to the nakago, the tang, which is never polished. It remains dark, untouched, covered in rust. This is intentional. The patina proves the blade's age. It tells the future how old the sword truly is. Polished tang is a sign of forgery or error. The past must be preserved, even in its decay. Now let us speak of the tools. Each stone has a name. There is arado, the roughest, used to shape the blade. Then binsui, slightly finer, removing marks from the first stone. Kominagara, finer still, used for refining geometry. Uchigamori, a finishing stone, gray and delicate, prized for its ability to reveal the hada. Then there are the finger stones, hazuya and jizuya, tiny fragments attached to washi paper with lacquer. They are used one at a time, rubbed with the fingertip in precise circular motions. This allows the polisher to treat specific parts of the blade, customizing tone and sheen. There is the megakibo, the burnishing needle used to polish the ridgeline to a high gloss. There is the kabori, the engraving chisel, for restoring any characters on the tang. Water is always present, clean, fresh, collected in shallow bowls. The stones are kept moist. The blade must never overheat. Patience is required. Stillness maintained. Each tool is cared for like a companion. A good stone lasts decades. Some are handed down like heirlooms. The finest stones come from quarries long close, Narutaki, Okudo, and Atagoyama. Their supply is finite. Their feel unmatched. The polisher knows each stone by touch, by sound. A stone that sings too loudly may be too coarse. One that feels sticky may be saturated. Adjustments are made, not by rule but by feel. The hands learn what the mind cannot measure. As evening approaches, the polisher steps back. He lifts the blade gently with cloth, examining it from every angle. The hamon glows softly in the fading light, like frost under moonlight. The hada swirls across the steel like the rings of an ancient tree. The shape is true. The lines are clean. He breathes slowly, not with pride, but with peace. The work is complete. The sword is polished. But more than that, the day is complete. Another rhythm, another cycle, another moment in harmony with the past. He returns the sword to its shiraseya, a plain wooden scabbard used for storage. No ornate fittings, no lacquer, just simple hinoki wood, carved to the blade's shape, free of oil or paint. It will rest now, as will he. Let us now reflect, dear listener. The sword we followed was never drawn in battle. It was never stained, never broken, and yet it lived, through steel, through silence, through the touch of a polisher's hand. History is not always loud. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it breathes, sometimes it lies in the gentle arc of a blade and the echo of stone against steel. You are still here listening, drifting, floating between thought and rest. There is no need to hold on. Let the images fall like petals from a quiet tree. Let your breath follow the rhythm of the polisher's hands. Slow, gentle, even. With each exhale, let go of your day. With each word, slip further into stillness. Sleep is not far. It waits with patience, like the blade before its polish. Ready, timeless, pure. The world outside continues to spin. Clouds pass silently across a darkening sky. Birds settle into their nests. The wind softens to a hush. But here, in this still and narrow space, the practice continues. The art continues. The silence deepens. The sword is at rest now, but its journey is not yet done. And so we walk further, down its path, slowly, gently, without need to hurry. There is more to understand, more to feel, and more quiet beauty to uncover. Let us now walk the path of a polisher's training. To become a Togishi is not simply to learn a skill. It is to dedicate one's life to an ideal. The training is long, the expectations strict, the rewards subtle and invisible. Many will never finish. Only those with deep patience and reverence will earn the title of master. It begins with observation. In the early months, sometimes years, the apprentice watches, only watches. They do not touch the blade. They do not use the stones. They sweep the workshop. They mix water. They observe every movement of their teacher. How he lifts the blade. How he wets the stone. How he breathes. Nothing is written down. There are no textbooks. No online tutorials. Everything is passed through silent example, through long presence, through the whisper of repetition. After time, the student is given a stone. but not to polish a blade, only to practice stroke technique, on scrap steel, on mock blades, perhaps on wood or polished bars. They practice for weeks, months. Only when their hand no longer thinks and their body moves without tension are they allowed to touch a real blade, and even then only during the shitaji phase, the coarse polishing. The final polish, the shiage, is reserved for the master. Years may pass before the student is entrusted with a sword of historical value. This is not punishment. It is protection. A single mistake in polishing can ruin a blade forever, a one-of-a-kind artifact erased by an eager or careless hand. So they wait, they learn, they breathe. In time they polish. Slowly they become one with the rhythm. The mindset of the Togishi is different from other artisans. Where a sculptor creates, the polisher reveals. Where a calligrapher expresses, the polisher restrains. Where a performer seeks applause, the polisher seeks silence. There is no crowd, no fame, only the blade, the stone, and the moment. This is the essence of wabi-sabi, the Japanese aesthetic of simplicity, transience, and quiet beauty. Sword polishing is not flashy. It is not decorative. It does not demand attention. Beauty is in its humility. Its purpose is to honor, not to embellish. To polish a sword is to acknowledge all the hands that came before, the miner who unearthed the iron sand, the smith who folded it, the warrior who carried it, and the time that passed over it. The polisher becomes a bridge from past to present. Let us now consider the sword itself as an object of reverence. In Japanese culture, the sword is called the soul of the samurai. It is not just a weapon. It is a reflection of character. Its curvature is graceful, its sharpness hidden, its surface both mirror and mystery. Samurai trained not only to wield the sword, but to live by its code, Bushido, the way of the warrior, a path of loyalty, honor, discipline, and restraint. The sword was worn edge up, symbolizing its readiness to protect, not to strike. When not in battle, it was kept in a plain shirasaya, its beauty hidden, its presence quiet. The samurai would present their blade for polishing, not to boast, but to preserve its essence. To lose one's sword was to lose one's honor. To neglect it was to neglect the soul. And so, polishing became a sacred duty, not just of the artisan, but of the warrior himself. Even today, descendants of samurai families bring their ancestral blades to be polished, not to use but to remember, to honor, to keep the spirit alive. Let us now drift through time, visiting different eras of Japanese history, and see how the role of the Togishi has changed or remained the same. In the Kamakura period, the art of swordsmithing reached new heights. Polishing techniques developed alongside forging. The Togishi was a vital part of the sword's creation, working hand in hand with the smith. The blades of this era were long, deeply curved, and designed for mounted warfare. The hamon was often bold, the hada rich with texture. In the Muromachi period, conflict shifted to ground-based fighting. Blades became shorter, straighter, more practical. The polisher adapted. His work now included repairing battle-worn swords, restoring balance, maintaining edge. During the Edo period, peace reigned. Swords became more symbolic than functional. The polish became finer, more aesthetic. Collectors emerged. The Togishi began working not just for samurai, but for nobles, scholars, and priests. His reputation became known, his hands respected. Then came the Meiji Restoration. With the fall of the samurai class, sword culture diminished. Many polishers abandoned their craft. Others preserved it in secret. In modern Japan, sword polishing is a cultural heritage, protected and taught in select schools. Government-recognized certification exists. Museums commission work Collectors around the world seek authentic Japanese polish. But the essence has not changed. Stone against steel, breath in rhythm, patience without end. The room grows darker. A single lamp flickers beside the polishing bench. The sword is gone now, returned to its resting place. But the spirit of the work remains. The Togishi cleans his stones. He wipes his tools. He folds the cloth. Each motion as careful as the ones before. There is no rush, no clutter, no noise. He kneels in gratitude, not for fame, not for fortune, but for the opportunity to be part of something eternal. To polish a sword is to polish the self. To clear the steel is to clear the mind. To reveal the blade is to reveal stillness. So rest now, dear listener. You have followed this journey with gentleness. You have breathed with the rhythm of 1,000 years. You have walked beside the polisher and felt his quiet resolve. There is no more to do, no more to become. Only this breath, and then the next, and then sleep. We will continue soon. But for now, let the blade rest, let the stones sleep, and let your dreams carry you where words cannot.